After I refused to co-sign a loan for my neighbor's daughter, my lawn was salted and my pets went missing. I cried, "You're ruining everything I love." She coldly replied, "That's the price of saying no to me." But as I dug through the scorched grass, I found a burned photo that wasn't mine, and it showed, I'm a 43-year-old man living alone in Clearwater, Florida. I own my house. It's not big, but it's mine. My parents left it to me after they passed, and I've spent the last decade slowly fixing it up. The porch, the backyard, even the lawn, I take care of everything myself. I don't have much family left. I live with my pets. 3 rescue cats and my dog, Tucker. They're my family now. For a while, life was calm. Then Angela moved in next door. She showed up with a moving truck and a teenage daughter named Bella. I helped her lift a bookshelf her movers left on the driveway. She smiled and offered lemonade. For the first few months, she seemed normal. A little fake, maybe, but polite. She dressed like she was always heading to a photo shoot, high heels to take out the trash, makeup done just to grab the mail. Her daughter Bella was quiet. Nice enough, just shy. I'd wave when she got off the bus. She'd wave back. We weren't friends, but we got along. Then one Sunday afternoon in February, Angela knocked on my door. I was watching the Lightning game. She looked stressed but had that same fake smile. "Can I come in for a minute?" she asked. I let her in. Made her coffee. She didn't waste time. She told me Bella had been accepted to Florida State. But they needed help. She said financial aid wasn't enough, and she couldn't co-sign for the student loan because of a small bankruptcy issue years ago. Then she said it. "You've got great credit, right? I was hoping you'd co-sign." I stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "I barely know you," I said. "That's a big ask. But we're neighbors. Bella's a good kid." "I'm sorry. I can't do that." Her smile dropped. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She just stood up. "You'll regret this," she said. Then walked right out my door. That's when things started going wrong. First it was my lawn. I noticed strange white powder in the grass near the driveway and by the tree line. At first I thought it was from the road or something the landscaper sprayed. Then I started losing patches of grass. Big, ugly dead circles. My hydrangeas turned yellow. The bushes wilted. I had no idea what was happening. One morning I found the same white stuff in a straight line along the base of the fence, right on the side facing Angela's yard. I scooped some up with gloves and looked it up online. Salt. Someone had salted my lawn. And it only got worse from there. 2 days later, Tucker didn't come home after our evening walk. I let him out into the yard for 10 minutes before bed. He never wandered. Never. But that night, he didn't come back. I stayed up all night calling for him. Walked the neighborhood. Nothing. The next morning, I realized my cats were missing too. They always came to the porch for breakfast. I shook the treat can, looked under the porch, walked the block. No signs. 3 pets, gone. In one night. I filed a police report. The officer who came out said it was probably coyotes or they slipped out. I live in a suburb. Coyotes don't come this far into town. And all of them disappearing at once? It didn't make sense. The same day, I saw Angela by the fence. She was standing there, smoking a cigarette and staring at my yard like she was admiring her work. I couldn't help it. "You're ruining everything I love," I shouted. She just smirked. That's the price of saying no to me. Then she walked back into her house. I was shaking with rage. I called the police again. I told them everything, about the loan, the salt, the pets. This time a detective came to my door. Detective Kyle Mercer. He listened. Took notes. then said there was nothing they could do without evidence. He said she had no criminal record, and if I didn't have cameras, I couldn't prove anything. But something about the way he looked at me felt off. Like he was trying not to laugh. That night, I grabbed a shovel. I don't even know why I did it. I was furious. Helpless. I needed to do something. So I started digging around the scorched patch of grass near the hydrangeas. The soil was dry and cracked. The salt had eaten through everything. About a foot down, my shovel hit something hard. I knelt and dug with my hands. It was wet. Burned around the edges. At first I thought it was garbage. But it was a photograph. The paper was half melted, like someone tried to burn it but then buried it before the flames could finish. I brushed off the dirt. It was a group photo. 5 or 6 people standing in front of a rundown house. Looked like it was taken at night. They were smiling, laughing, holding red Solo cups. Angela was one of them. She looked younger, at least 10 years younger, but it was definitely her. Next to her was someone else I recognized. Detective Kyle Mercer. My blood ran cold. But that wasn't the worst part. In the background of the photo, barely visible behind the group, was a girl. She was tied to a chair. Her mouth was taped. She looked terrified. And nobody in the photo seemed to care. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at that burned photo under a desk lamp, flipping it over again and again like the back might offer an explanation. It didn't. Just more scorch marks and dirt. I tried to scan it, clean it up digitally. The girl's face, blurry, pale, terrified, stayed burned into my brain. I didn't know who she was. But Angela and that cop, Mercer, they were smiling like nothing was wrong. Like she didn't exist. I had 100 questions. But one thing was clear, I wasn't dealing with just a petty, angry neighbor. This was bigger. Something was very wrong. The next day, I went to the Clearwater Police Department. I brought the photo with me. I asked to speak to someone in internal affairs. They told me to fill out a form. I insisted. Loudly. Eventually, a younger officer in plain clothes pulled me into a side office. I laid the photo on the desk. He looked at it for a while. He asked me where I found it. I told him the truth. He didn't ask any more questions. Just picked up the photo and said, "We'll look into it." I never saw that photo again. 3 days passed. Nothing. Then, weird things started happening. My mailbox was smashed in. Twice. My back gate, torn clean off the hinges. I'd find muddy boot prints outside my bedroom window at night. No one in my house but me. And every time I called the cops, they sent Mercer. Every single time. He'd show up, take notes, then smile and say, "We're doing our best, Mr. Faulkner." That smug tone. Like he wanted me to know he was behind it. Like it was a game. I started watching Angela's house. I didn't mean to become that guy, but I had to know what she was doing. That's when I saw something strange. Late at night. Around 2 or 3 a.m., people would show up. Young men. Girls. Sometimes dressed nice, sometimes looking strung out. They'd stay for hours. Sometimes they'd leave quickly, like something scared them off. Other times, they never came back out. It wasn't a party. It was organized. It looked like trafficking. Or worse. I wrote down license plates. I took videos. I even placed an old GoPro near my attic window to catch her backyard. One night, I saw Angela dragging something heavy in a tarp across her patio. She looked right at my house while doing it. Like she knew I was watching. Then, I got a visit. It was early morning. Sun not even up. I was getting coffee when the knock came. I opened the door, and Bella was there. Angela's daughter. She looked pale. Shaking. Barefoot. Can I come in? She asked. I didn't know what to do. I hesitated. Then she said, please. I don't want her to know I talked to you. That's all it took. I let her inside. She sat at my kitchen table, hugging herself. She's not my real mom, she said. What? She took me when I was 5. I just stared at her. She's not my mom. I don't know who my mom is. I was raised in that house. But she's not who she says she is. I didn't even know what to say. She went on. Told me about parties that weren't parties. Told me about men who showed up and women who didn't leave. She said Angela called it the business. She said they moved people around, girls, mostly, and some were never seen again. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. She takes pictures of them. Before they disappear. She says it's for her records. I thought of the girl in the chair. The photo. The smile on Mercer's face. I asked Bella why she was telling me now. Because she knows you're watching her, she whispered. And she told Mercer to make you disappear. I sat there, frozen, trying to understand what Bella was saying. She looked like a ghost, barely holding it together. Her hands were trembling, and she kept glancing at the window like she expected Angela to walk up any second and drag her away. I made her tea. It felt stupid, but I didn't know what else to do. You need to go to the police, I told her. She laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. More like a bitter breath. She owns them, Bella said. Not all of them. But enough. Mercer. 3 others, maybe more. She calls them her insurance. I asked her why she'd finally decided to come forward. Why now? She looked at me, her eyes rimmed red. Because I found one of the girls, she whispered. In the crawlspace. I felt sick. She was gone. Wrapped in plastic. I think she tried to get out, and Angela punished her. I asked her what she did next. I ran. That's when she told me she was watching you. She said if I tried anything stupid, she'd hurt you first. Said she'd start with your animals to send a message. Tucker. My cats. God. I didn't know who to trust. I sure as hell couldn't go back to the Clearwater police. So I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My brother-in-law, Clint. He used to be a deputy in St. Augustine. Quit after his partner got caught taking kickbacks and tried to pin it on him. Clint was paranoid, angry, and didn't trust the system anymore. Perfect. He showed up the next morning with a dash cam, 3 GoPros, and a duffel bag full of gadgets and ammo. This your little war? He asked me. No. This is something darker. He listened to everything. Bella stayed hidden in the guest room, afraid to even look outside. Clint didn't blink through any of it. When I showed him the burned photo I printed from a saved scan, he didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, you know who that girl is in the chair? No, that's Sarah Newsom. She went missing in Jacksonville 12 years ago. Her case was never solved. Her mom still does interviews every year on the anniversary. My throat went dry. You sure? I'm sure. Clint called in a favor. An old friend of his, Marla, ran a nonprofit that investigated trafficking and missing persons. She had connections, real ones, not local cops who'd already been bought. She agreed to meet us. We showed her the photo. Bella told her story again. Clint showed her a few clips from the GoPro we had facing Angela's backyard, the tarp being dragged, the people showing up at all hours. Marla watched it all in silence. Then said 2 words, it's her. Apparently, Angela wasn't Angela at all. Her real name was Vanessa Creed. Born in Missouri. Disappeared from her foster home at 17. Reappeared 5 years later in Georgia, married to a small-time drug trafficker who mysteriously died in a fire. Since then, she'd used at least 4 different names, moved across 3 states, always leaving behind unanswered questions. Marla told us she'd been chasing Vanessa for years. Said she'd been linked to at least 6 girls who vanished, some runaways, some good kids who just ended up at the wrong house party. But they'd never had proof. Until now. We started gathering everything we could. Clint wired up motion sensors, cameras, and long-range mics. Marla sent a burner phone with encrypted messaging. Bella gave us names, people who worked with Angela, the clients, the girls who didn't make it out. I sent a copy of the photo and videos to a trusted reporter I'd met once during a local fundraiser. Then we waited. And that's when Angela struck back. 3 nights later, I woke up to smoke. The house was on fire. Not the whole thing, just the back wall, by the kitchen. Someone had tossed a Molotov through the window. Thank God for the fire extinguisher Clint insisted we keep by the fridge. Bella was coughing, eyes red from smoke. Clint got us out the back door. We called 911. They showed up fast. But so did Mercer. He walked right up to me, didn't even pretend anymore. You should have just co-signed that loan, he said with a smirk. Clint stepped between us, hand on his hip. We're not alone anymore, Clint said. You better remember that. Mercer's eyes shifted. Just a little. Enough for me to know. He was scared. The fire didn't stop us. In fact, it helped. Marla sent her contacts from a private investigative firm, former feds, people who couldn't be bought. We sent them everything. The footage. The files. Bella's full story. And then we got the break we needed. One of the license plates I wrote down? It belonged to a guy on probation in Hillsborough County. A known pimp. He was seen visiting Angela's house 4 times over the past month. When investigators brought him in, he cracked in under an hour. Said Angela, Vanessa, had video files. Files she used to blackmail cops, clients, even a judge. She had a safe in her basement. And what was inside it? Would make everything explode. The plan came together faster than I expected. Marla's team worked with a task force from out of state, people with no ties to Clearwater, no connection to Mercer, no reason to play nice. A sealed warrant was issued by a judge in Tallahassee. No leaks. No warning. Angela had no idea what was coming. They hit the house at 3:17 a.m. on a Thursday. Tactical entry through the front and back. No sirens. No warnings. Just a quiet, surgical takedown. Clint and I watched from the house across the street, sitting in the dark, holding our breath. It was over in 5 minutes. Angela, Vanessa, came out screaming, barefoot, still in her silk robe. They slammed her face first onto the lawn. She made eye contact with me as they cuffed her. I told you, she hissed. You should have helped me. I didn't say anything. They found the safe exactly where the witness said it would be, beneath the floorboards in the laundry room. Locked tight. Took them 10 minutes to crack it. Inside? Multiple flash drives, old phones, handwritten ledgers with names, payments, locations, even notes about which cops could be trusted. Photos. So many photos. Some printed. Some digital. Dozens of girls, including Sarah Newsom. Bella. Others we hadn't even heard about. And in one sick twist, there were videos. Of the parties. Of the threats. Even one of Mercer, counting stacks of cash with a girl who couldn't have been more than 14 sitting silently behind him. The fallout hit like a bomb. The FBI took over. So did national media. Angela, real name Vanessa Creed, was hit with over 30 federal charges, including kidnapping, trafficking, assault, conspiracy, obstruction, and homicide. Once they tied her to the missing girls in Georgia and Missouri, it turned into a multi-state case. No plea deals. No leniency. Mercer tried to run. Didn't make it far. They caught him trying to cross into Alabama with a suitcase full of burner phones and $60,000 in cash. When they brought him in, he cried. Literally cried. Begged for protection. Claimed he was blackmailed, said he didn't have a choice. Nobody cared. He flipped on 4 other officers. They all went down. Angela's house was seized, stripped bare. Her Lexus was sold at auction. The money went to a victims fund. Bella testified. She was terrified, but she stood tall. She was the star witness in a case that made national news. Afterward, she moved in with Clint's sister near Gainesville. She's going to therapy. She enrolled in community college last fall. She wants to become a social worker. As for me? I lost a lot. My pets were never found. I still dream about Tucker sometimes. Him running across the lawn, tail wagging, before fading into smoke. It wrecked me more than I like to admit. My house had to be rebuilt. Insurance covered the fire damage, but not the emotional toll. Some nights, I still wake up at 3 a.m., thinking I hear footsteps in the yard. But I also gained something. Justice. Real justice. Angela got life. No parole. She's locked in a federal prison in Indiana. I heard through Marla that she's not handling it well. Turns out, the people she used to control don't like her much on the inside. Mercer? 35 years. He'll be out in his 70s, maybe. By then, nobody will remember his name. 1 year after the trial ended, I planted new grass where my lawn was salted. Took months to take root. And right in the center of that lawn, I planted a tree. A red maple. Strong, steady, slow-growing. Underneath it, I buried a copy of that photo, the original printout, now sealed in plastic. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. That when evil comes to your door, and you say no, sometimes, it fights back. But if you stand your ground, if you dig deep and fight even when you're scared, you win. Even if it costs you everything.